What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we are going to be going over the 5 worst hunter exotics in Destiny 2. These see almost no PvP or PvE play, and I believe are in desperate need of some buffs. We're actually getting a sandbox update with the launch of the Shadowkeep expansion. Hopefully, Bungie can include some of these. Now, I've already done videos on the 5 worst Warlock and Titan exotics. Check those out if you haven't, they're linked up above. But I couldn't leave out the hunters. If anyone here needs an ego check, it's the hunters, if you know what I'm saying. Alright, now something to note. The thing about hunter exotics is that they actually pretty much all have some incredibly niche PvP usage. Unlike Warlock, the worst exotics, where some of them you just never see anywhere, you will from very rare occasions see someone rocking one of these in quick play, but I believe there's still better options out there, and of course these are all my opinions. If you are rocking one of these and succeeding with it, don't let me stop you. But you should be the one sharing the video more than anyone else. Your favorite exotic might get buffed. Come on, dude. Alright, now let's get started here. These are in no particular order with number 5, and that is, all the way back from Vanilla D2, we have the FOETRACER exotic helmet. Its intrinsic perk is Relentless Tracker. Visually marks targeted enemies. Deals more damage to low health marked enemies. So let's start with the increased damage. That sounds pretty good. More damage is always better. But unfortunately, it triggers when enemies are such low health that, for example, in PvP, it's almost never going to matter. It's almost never going to increase your time to kill. With the meta weapons, if you're using a 150 hand cannon and you shoot a guy twice, FOETRACER, not only will it probably not even trigger for that last shot, you don't need a damage increase, you're gonna kill that guy anyways. You can construct a scenario where you're using a super low damage, high rate of fire weapon, where maybe the increased damage from FOETRACER gets you the kill where you otherwise wouldn't get it, but you can much more easily construct a scenario where another exotic would be more useful. In PvE as well, the damage increase comes up a little bit more against boss enemies, strike bosses and so on. You're shooting so much more that it triggers at low health, but there's still quite a lot of damage that needs to go into that low health enemy, so you're going to be getting a damage bonus for quite a while. But it's really only those bosses where the damage bonus comes up. You don't need a damage bonus against an acolyte, you know? And if you want to do more damage against PvE bosses, use the Celestial Nighthawk exotic helmet, you know? And in terms of the targeting enemies, it can somewhat be nice. You target an enemy, you do some damage to them, they go behind cover, you see exactly where they are. But the radar in Destiny 2, especially in PvP, is so significant that no one's really... You can usually know when a guy is going further behind cover or coming back out to surprise you just by looking at the radar, if you're even a half-decent player. So the tracking really, it does provide a benefit, but it's not very substantial. So that's why the FOETRACER, it's on this list. In terms of a buff, I would recommend messing with the damage bonus is always risky, but increasing the threshold at which it triggers or the amount of bonus damage would be the way to actually make this a more powerful exotic and get it to see more play. Now, moving on from there, you know we had to do it to him. It's the AEON Swift exotic gauntlets. These also somehow made an appearance in the 5 worst Titan exotics because these were added with the Curse of Osiris, the best Destiny expansion, LMAO, and these have a very unique intrinsic perk. It's a cool idea. It's AEON Energy. Dodging grants the following to nearby AEON cult allies, so other people wearing this exotic. Grenade energy to warlocks, melee energy to titans, and dodge energy to hunters. So actually, if you do get a full group of people together with these exotic gauntlets, and you are specifically a warlock, you get a pretty significant benefit. Much more grenade recharge for everyone in your fire team. But if you do that same thing, you get a bunch of people together, but you're a hunter, you get dodge energy. Think about that. More grenade energy versus more dodge energy. It's not even close to being balanced here. Even the Titans, like the melee energy isn't that significant, but at least they have stuff like Melting Point, and now they have throwable hammers too. Like, you can somewhat eke out a benefit, but even there it wasn't very good. So the hunters are using an exotic that doesn't even get a benefit unless you also have other people with this exotic, and even if they put all those things together, they have the worst out of the 3 benefits, so that's why it's gotta be on this list. In terms of a buff, change dodge energy to something else like super energy, I don't know, and also make these exotics work if you're just solo using them, and then crank up the benefit if there are multiple people, but make them at least have an effect if you're solo. Alright, next up we have the Dragon's Shadow exotic chest piece. The intrinsic perk here is WRAITHMETAL Mail. Dodging reloads all weapons and increases both movement and weapon handling speeds for a brief time. Now this is kind of what I'm talking about. This does have some niche PvP applications. This isn't the worst thing to use if you're dodging around quite a bit in PvP, because the benefit, although the benefit of reloading actually is provided by Marksman's Dodge. If you just put that on, you're automatically going to reload your equipped gun when you dodge. So the Shadow lets you switch to Gambler's Dodge and that recharges your melee, but like if you aren't oriented towards a melee build, it's not that great of a benefit. Also, the movement and handling speeds, they're nice, but it is a brief time. It truly is brief, and also, like, it's not like you're going to be running twice as fast or any significant bonus. They're nice bonuses, but it's very niche to PvP, because in PvE, like, these don't matter basically at all. I mean, reloading your weapons and at the same time slightly recharging your melee is nice, but, you know, nothing insane we're talking about here. Like, if you're doing DPS against a boss, you're not going to be dodging around with the Dragon's Shadow. You're going to be standing in a Lunafaction well, right? And there's just so many significantly better exotics for PvE. I mean, the Liar's Handshake is out there slaying Riven solo. The Dragon's Shadow, like, it just pales in comparison. So its only home is PvP, and the problem, none to its own fault, is the 6th Coyote. That's another exotic chest piece, and that just gives you 2 dodges. So if you have a dodge-oriented build and you were using the Dragon's Shadow, most people have just switched to the 6th Coyote if they have it immediately, because the benefits are overall going to be greater. So it just has a pretty strict upgrade in a competitor, and right now it's kind of fallen behind. You will not see this very often anymore. Now, in terms of a buff, I would recommend simply increasing the movement speed to something actually noticeable would make this very viable in PvP, but I hope they add something that, you know, increase damage to PvE combatants after dodging, something that actually starts to make some of the hunter exotics not just be incredibly niche PvP exotics, but rather have more play in both PvE and PvP, which they're lacking right now for the most part. Now, moving on from there, we have the Ophidia SPATHE, another exotic chest armor. This time the intrinsic perk is Scissor Fingers, grants 2 knives per charge. Now, that's a strict upgrade if you're using Gunslinger and if you're using your knives quite a bit, but that caveat is very important. If you're using your knives quite a bit. No one's using knives quite a bit, like, they just aren't effective enough, frankly, to dedicate an entire exotic slot to giving you a benefit in that department. I mean, in PvP, you'll be dead to a 150 hand cannon before your knife can even travel over and hit an enemy at medium range, at least what it seems like, so not too effective there, and in PvE as well, just not effective. However, these, I kind of feel bad for putting on the list because they're actually a very fun exotic to use, and they got significantly better with the introduction of the Blade Barrage for the Hunter, because they do work with Fan of Knives, which can recharge very fast once you get the ×3 bonus going. Like, as you can see from the background gameplay, doing this Lost Sector, it's actually fun. These are a fun exotic, and actually, if you're playing an activity with the Brawler modifier, this can be something legitimately decent to use. However, if we're looking away from fun and looking at effectiveness, if you're running a raid, for example, no one's running these. There's so many better options. So yeah, in terms of a buff, simply add some kind of effect onto the knives. Make them always explosive, like give them some sort of benefit in addition to giving them 2 charges, and then these might start to see some decent play. Next up, we have the final exotic on our list, and that is the sealed AHAMKARA Grasps Exotic Gauntlets. These have the intrinsic perk Nightmare Fuel. Dealing melee damage reloads your currently equipped weapon. That's it. Now, that doesn't sound that terrible. You're going to be running around getting, melee hits and kills and instantly reloading your weapon. You'll never have to reload. You can just melee. If you're playing super aggressive, that should be great, right? Well, it turns out, actually in-game, it isn't all that beneficial. Now, in terms of a PvE scenario and somewhat PvP as well, if you really want that effect, there's a weapon perk that already does that, Grave Robber. That partially reloads your magazine if you get a melee kill. So if you are in a PvE environment especially, and meleeing acolytes and stuff, like if you really want that effect, just find a shotgun with Grave Robber. And like those are the type of weapons you're gonna need to be reloading with melee kills anyways. And in fact, that's not even a bad perk to have on those type of weapons for that type of scenario. So you're kind of getting a weapon perk in the form of an entire exotic slot. That's not that great. Now the difference, of course, is Grave Robber is kills and Nightmare Fuel is hits. So if you're fighting a big boss, you can shoot, you're out of ammo, melee hit, and start shooting again. Here's the problem with that scenario. That's like honestly not a terrible scenario, but the problem is that almost every boss in Destiny 2 does the silly ground slam thing. Every single one, every strike boss, like so many raid bosses, all of them slam the ground and push you away. So if your plan is to sit there and constantly melee and shoot them, you're gonna probably die, or if that is your plan, you're probably going to need a Well of Radiance to succeed there. And if you're using that, the person who's using it probably has the Lunafaction boots on. You can see where I'm going. It's not a terrible scenario, it's just so niche, and Titan Rally Barricades and Lunafaction boots have you usually covered for scenarios you want to be doing this anyways. Now in PvP, kind of useful, but most of the time you'll have engaged an enemy and you are going to melee to get that kill. It's the final thing you do to that enemy, and then you want a fully reloaded weapon for the next enemy. In that case, Grave Robber is going to work just fine, right? Because you really don't want to shoot one enemy, immediately run out of ammo, go for the melee, and then try to shoot him again. Like in that scenario, yes, that very specific scenario, the AHAMKARA Grasps would help you out. It might just be quicker to melee twice in a row, you know what I mean? So again, it's simply the nicheness of this effect. It's the fact that we have to kind of construct a hypothetical scenario where several things have to happen for this benefit to even be noticeable that it belongs on this list, in my opinion. Now, in terms of buffing it, well, in D1, these gave you an extra melee slot. If they did that in D2, these would start to see play, let me just say that. And that is the end of our list. If you guys have any more exotics you guys think desperately need buffs, or am I wrong about any of these exotics? Are you using them for certain things I didn't think of? Let me know in the comment section down below. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informative, found it interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.